the difference in Toulouse with and without Dupont?
So yes, there are. I reckon the other teams are going to take strength from him not being there and the situation Toulouse are in. They're still bloody amazing, but other teams will be thinking there's a slight weakness there now that wasn't there before.
All right, let's review the round of 16 in the Champions Cup here on FR UK Rugby. Get stuck in the comments down below and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Takes you no time, costs you no money, but it means you'll get little notifications when there's all this good stuff happening. I'm Tim in California at the moment, bathed in sunshine here, as Joe Worsley is en français. How you doing, Joe?
Hello. 34 degrees today.
What?
34.
Wow.
34, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
How are you coping in that? You doing all right?
I'm all right. I'm betting this guy trying a three-point turn. Austin Powers style. It's taking him 24. I thought I found a calm spot.
We're going to get straight into this then. Round of 16 at the weekend. There are 4 French teams in the quarterfinals. I want to start with one of the teams that aren't there, however. Ronan O'Gara and La Rochelle's issues deepen. What's the reaction been in France to La Rochelle's defeat?
I think there's no surprise. Everyone respects Munster as a team. It just shows you kind of La Rochelle where they're at right now. I think Ronan O'Gara is safe, I reckon, till next season at least, because he's made some really big signings next year. And I think the club are going to give him the record he's had. He's won 2 European Cups. He's brought the club up a huge way. They're going to give him a bad season and not just get rid of him now. So I think I'm going to give him another year at least, and hopefully the signings he's made will pay dividends and they'll get back to being the team they were a few years ago.
Yeah, just on those signings, we know about Le Garrec and about Niniashvili, those are a couple of box office names.
Yeah.
Rumours swirling around Menoncello. I think you might have mentioned it previously.
They're pretty heavy rumours, because I think that'd be important for their team as well. Someone like that in their squad would make a huge difference. They got X Factor with Le Garrec, X Factor with Niniashvili, who can do anything at any moment, but just raw power, you never get a substitute for that. And that's something La Rochelle really relied on. Obviously, Dante was signed for that, but he's been injured a lot. So bringing in someone like Menoncello might do the trick for them.
Well, we will watch this space. Yeah, it was a really, really spirited performance by Munster. There was, the atmosphere looked amazing. Teddy Tomat, not used to seeing him in the 13 channel. Will he be just, when you make a balls up in a game, Teddy Tomat going for the post rather than pinning his ears back, going for the corner and the guaranteed 5 points. Well, not guaranteed, but likely 5 points. Do you wake up in a cold sweat for days after stuff like that happens? Can you remember a balls up you made?
Yeah, he's got a lot previous about doing things like this. A brilliant moment and then something batshit. So he's somebody who's susceptible to those kind of moments. So I don't think their coaches have seen it before. They're probably hearts in the mouth when he's running it in. But yeah, he can really, really screw up. It's probably why he's such a talent, but he's never really been a French number one or anything like that, because he does screw up. And when you're a back three who makes mistakes like that, it just something you just can't do at international level.
Yeah. We'll get onto the big guns in a second, but Castres, that game was absolutely dynamite. And it kind of helped. It was kind of good that Leinster put Quins to bed, because it meant I could just sort of shift my focus completely onto the Castres match, talk about batshit. There was a 1-2 minute period in that. I think it was one of the ones where, I can't remember who scored the try, not Babio maybe. Just end-to-end insane rugby.
Yeah. Castres are really ramped up. We talked about whether to take it seriously or not and just go for the league. But they've won the league before, and I think generally they want to get as far as they can in this comp for the prestige of the club. So yeah, I've been chatting to a few people, echoes coming out of that club, rumours coming out of the club are that they really want to go for it and give it a good shot. So getting to a semi-final for them would be a huge achievement, and whatever happens beyond that, a bonus. So that's the way they're looking at it, I think.
And with a red card, there was fisticuffs and 2 yellow cards for handbags given as well, and so a man down, massive effort in that last 10 minutes as well. And it didn't. I'm sure it didn't come across on the TV, but that place, the Stade Pierre Fabre, you know it well. When it's absolutely bouncing and the crowd are behind their team, what's it like?
Yeah, but that's that energy that you get in the top 14, and obviously when they play in European games, it's just a different level, isn't it? Even with Brive the other night, the game was quite tight against Valence up to half time, and at one point the crowd got behind the team, and yeah, you can really feel it. And Castres, during lockdown, during the COVID, the fans obviously weren't there, and they lost more games than normal because the fans weren't there. So they generally, I think, make a difference to that team.
And another, I mean, how many good scrum halves do France need? Another, I mean, he's in his mid-20s now, so I'm not suggesting he's going to trouble international selectors, but Santi Arata, amazing player, goes off, and Jeremy Fernandez steps forward.
Yeah.
What a cameo.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Jeremy when I worked, he'd just come into the senior squad a year or two before, hadn't played much, and he was thinking about moving on because he wasn't getting much game time, but he's just knuckled down. His kicking game has gone from being pretty bad to being awesome. He can kick 22 to 22. He can really execute box kicks really well, but then he can also speed up the play. He can read the play and speed up as these French nines can. Yeah, he's a talent. It's just a lovely story about someone who was really low down the pecking order and has just risen up through hard work and make himself a better player. Inspiration for any of you 22-year-olds out there who think you haven't quite got it. This guy thought he didn't have it, worked his ass off, and he certainly has it now.
Love it. Love it. And the whole back three was pretty rapid, but particularly Shabouni and Remy Baget, that they must be contenders for the summer tour for France, the pair of them.
Yeah, Shabouni makes, again, a back three who makes probably too many errors. Initially, he played once or twice when I was there. He was very young, like 19 years old at the time, so he got a lot better. I think he's still knocking those moments out of the game where he can expose the team to some dangerous moments. But yeah, carrying the ball, it was clear even then this is a guy who's kind of Bielberry-esque speed and step. So that was clear from day one. So he's developing into a good talent. Baget was at Bayonne for years, scoring tries like that. He can smell an opportunity and go for it. Yeah. I think summer tour, it could be interesting for them. Baget's never been capped, I don't think. I'm not sure about that. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think he's been in squad.
Who knows, maybe. But there's so much talent wing-wise.
Yeah, so
and he's not that young, so I don't know. Let's wait and see.
Fair. Right then. Okay, so that is Castres into the quarterfinals. They go to Northampton. They're not going to have their home crowd in the next round. Now we get to the other three French teams that have made it through, and the ones that are 1, 2, 3 in the log in the top 14, and 3 of the top seeds coming out of the pool stages. Let's start with that absolute beatdown in Toulon. At one point, they were 13 points to 35 down.
Yeah, I think this is that mental side of it. We talked about reverse bin juice. We talked about Saracens sending a weakened team. So those guys are rocking up at Toulon saying, sod it, we've got nothing to lose. We haven't got our England players with us. No one's giving us an opportunity in hell here. So they rock up with that kind of, let's go for it. I'm going to give this my all. And on the flip side, you got Toulon, who may be thinking they've rested a few players. Toulon then changed their team a little bit, probably. Serem, for example, not starting. Now, that's a pretty poor mental approach to a game. And often French teams can struggle when they're perceived to be the team that will dominate the game. Sometimes they can get into that situation you had on Saturday with Saracens against Toulon. Now, half-time, Saracens doing brilliant well, but then when they did have to make a few replacements, bring on some more of the big guns, but when they did do that, second half was pretty much all Toulon, Pretty incredible performance in that second half.
It really was. And we're definitely seeing, I don't know how much of this is by design or it's just playing out that way, but it almost, this kind of bomb squad element is definitely coming in. When you look at the bench and the impact that those players had, Danny Priso and Gigashvili just monstered Saracens when they came on. Baptiste Saran pulling strings all over the shop. Is there an argument? Do you think some teams will start maybe trying to finish with their strongest team on the field more and more rather than start with them?
Yeah, certainly France teams will sometimes put strongest scrummager on the bench to make sure at the end of the game they're dominating that scenario. When the replacement for the opposition's on, they're bringing their strongest guy Obviously, the bomb squad element, since South Africa started it, France got involved, it's becoming a little bit more popular here. Obviously, also the balling plays less here, so you're more powerful athletes, but they can go harder for a short amount of time. You bring on a bomb squad, you can maintain those levels for longer. So there's a lot of good reasons for French clubs to be doing this. Guigui Echoulet is a great example, but he's one guy who can do 80 minutes on. He just got rested. He's an 80-minute man. He's a bit of a machine. Got to know him well through Georgia. Someone like that coming on scrum time, working his arse off, smashing people, it makes a huge difference to a team.
Yeah, really does. So Toulon have earned themselves a home tie against the champions, Stade Toulousain, who got the win in the end, 38 points to 15. They were 15-10 down at half-time. So again, the English clubs pitched up in some of the matches for 40, 50 minutes, and then eventually the class told. How did you feel about Toulouse's performance?
After I switched on, and it was only 5 minutes or 10 minutes in and Sale were winning, but because of the parachutist that crashed into the roof, which was quite an interesting start to a match.
Yeah, God, I haven't even mentioned that. Like, what, were you watching in France, Joe?
I didn't see that initial bit. So I got WhatsApped it quite quickly by the French equivalent.
Yeah, so what amazed me was the difference in the coverage. So in France on FR2, or whichever channel it was wall-to-wall coverage of it. Like a rolling news story going on.
Really full.
With all of the camera angles and everything. And in England, we had Premier Sport who were just not touching it. They were just every now and again.
I suppose if you fell, you wouldn't want to show that. But
no, well, that's kind of what.
Do you know those inflatable things they do for the kids? Like rugby, you got to run around, you get smashed, you got to smash the inflatable men. They deflated it, brought it in, put it under him, reflated it in the 40 minutes it took before the fire service got there. I saw the clip of it today. It looked amazing. I'm not sure hopefully I saved him. He fell 50 metres, but.
Well, I just hope there was a delay on the coverage. I love that on the French TV they did show it, but I hope there was a delay on the footage if something bad had happened. But you don't want to see that on live TV. But
yeah. Anyway, Sale came out the blocks there. My God.
Yeah.
Again, that's another story. Did. That's another story about a team who've got. No one's giving you a hope. You're going to get butchered, and man, they stood up, didn't they? I remember seeing Alex do a chat afterwards saying he's really proud of his team. He should be. They put up a hell of a performance.
They definitely did. Class told in the end, but and it's easy to sort of just take one example and extrapolate it into something more than it is. But the difference in Toulouse with and without Dupont, was that Sale's effort, or was that? I mean, obviously you're going to miss something, but just how big is?
I think the scenario would have played into that, but definitely, I think teams not smelling blood, but teams here now in the top 14 who are competing, or Toulon and Bordeaux especially, will be thinking they ain't the same team they are without Dupont after the last couple of performances they put in. So I think teams are going to start thinking on those lines, and. Is that good or bad for those teams? It's probably good, because before with him in there, the way they've been going, how far they were ahead in terms of some of the stats and points scored, how many points they conceded, they were really quite far. Lightning, very far ahead of all the other teams. But honestly, I think that Dupont not being involved and Grau being okay, but then no backup behind him. Capozzo, incredible, got injured again. He was another one of probably the third choice 9. So yes, there are. I reckon the other teams are going to take strength from him not being there, and the situation Toulouse are in. They're still bloody amazing, but other teams will be thinking there's a slight weakness there now that wasn't there before.
I also thought there was an element where Toulouse weren't quite as. I mean, the physical dominance did come through over the 80 minutes, but it wasn't quite as. It feels like that physical dominance gap has closed a little bit between them and others.
Yeah, Miafu wasn't quite himself, although he did absolutely smash a few people. He wasn't quite himself. I think the Sale team, again, is this another story about a team that was not have a chance in hell against a team that everyone thought was going to win?
Right.
And you get that rebalancing. And Sale just were flying into them. They were flying into them, and the collisions, they were getting fast ball and playing on the back of it quite well. So there was that. Toulouse couldn't slow it down for a bit. And then once they managed to do that, that's when Toulouse got on top. It was his story about starting to win collisions in attack and defence, which is the key for them. And they have the athletes that can do that. But when you're mentally maybe not quite those few percent that you would normally be, then this can happen. But I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from Sale by saying that, but I think maybe that did happen. But I still think Sale had an incredible match, and maybe it's just their sheer ferocity and how much they were giving to their effort that made the difference.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the full-on, proper, mentally tuned in. Like, for example, Jaminet never makes that pass in the first couple of minutes of the game. Toulon that gifted Sale their first try this weekend against Toulouse. So I think you're probably right. We're going to see them locked in this weekend. And I think the story you paint of the opposition with nothing to lose, rolling the dice, and maybe not complacency, but not at 100% mentality-wise, is the story of Bordeaux as well.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the initial part of that, and I was thinking this is going to be very one-sided, the first 10, 20 minutes. Again, Ulster fought their way back into it, but I think Bordeaux's more a case of the game was won. They rested their players. They had a plan for the last couple of weeks. They rested certain people, kept certain people. So they kind of had a half and half team in the last 2 weeks.
And they were 21-0 up after 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then you're starting to think, we got this in the bag, we're going to win it. And the thing is, it's not great to think like that as a team normally, but when you're a team that can score points for fun, everything's always something you can chase back. If you're a very like Toulon, probably a team that wouldn't be able to score as rapidly or quickly. If they fell behind, they'd be worried, or they let another team come back into the game, it might be in the balance. But I say Toulon, like the team score many points, and they score that many against Sarries. But I think Bordeaux, just switched off a bit when they went ahead, and they were thinking, we're going to win this. We got it.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have another video coming in the feed very soon where we'll be looking ahead to those fixtures that the quarterfinals has thrown up. But those are our thoughts on the rugby that we saw last weekend. Yours in the comments down below. Hit subscribe, give that video a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.